Hello, welcome. I'm Delia Yeager, and I'm so glad that you're here. And today we're going to be talking about choice. It's an amazing superpower that gets overlooked and misunderstood quite a bit. So, when you are using choice, what does that look like? What does that mean? Well, let's just start with the fact that a lot of times in the course of a day, we're not actually exercising a choice as we're choosing options. See, the language itself is confusing. Uh, Picking the lesser of two evils, or deciding if you want to get the blouse from Target or the blouse from Macy's. It's not exactly a choice. It's like a binary thing. It's like an either or. And true choice is out of that box. So inside the box, we have options. And we call deciding on one option over the other, we call that a choice. But really, choice is outside of the box. Choice is creating something out of nothing or creating something that hasn't existed before. And a real choice is, like, for instance, do you want to get a job, or do you want to listen to music all day with your friends and create a record company? Richard Branson. So a choice is unlimited. It has any possibilities. Infinite possibilities are possible. And out of infinite possibilities, untold, unimagined, the stuff that you can think of, the stuff that you can know of, as well as the stuff that you don't know of yet, that is where real choice resides. And that's the superpower of choice that you actually have. Now, the thing to keep in mind is that these binary if-then choices, do you want to get a job at company A, or do you want to get a job at company B? These kind of binary choices they serve a function, but they keep you inside the box, right? So one of the premises here is, do you want to work for company A or company B? Because you have to have a job to make a living. And you can't make money without having a job. See how it's like it gets, the box is very, very well defined then, right? You have to have a job to make money, to pay your bills so that you can live. And see how there's no other options there? It's just you have to have a job to make money so you can pay the bills so you can live. So that's not really a choice. That's a mandate, but it's not a choice. So back in the day, in the 80s, when cable was brand new, cable TV's offer was that it was going to give you were going to pay a fee every month, and you were going to get to watch TV without commercials. I just want to have that on the record. Anyway, there was Jane Fonda was new, and she was inventing VHS, videos that, buy. Why would you want to repeat? Why would you want to buy a video? Well, Jane Fonda was doing her workouts, and people wanted to be able to do the workout whenever they wanted to do the workout. And until then, nobody ever bought VHS. It was not it's an industry that didn't exist yet. And so after the Jane Fonda thing, then everybody wanted to own videos. And it has evolved, as you know. So when cable was new, the other thing that was happening was I remember seeing a guy on a beach. It was a TV show where the guy was on the beach, like doing calisthenics or, some kind of basic exercise. It was a beautiful place. It was like, on the beach in Hawaii or something. But it's basically a guy on a beach working out. And I thought, how is this a thing? How is this a show? I mean, how does he pay the bills? How does he make a living? And now, we have tons of people who are doing yoga in front of the camera and selling videos and doing all kinds of things that you can do at home on your own with this instruction at your pace. So I remember my father was a college professor, and I remember him seeing this guy doing his calisthenics on the beach and kind of shaking his head going, that's no way to make a living. And, so for serious people, that's no way to make a living. But it's a possibility, right? So there's plenty of things that you could do to make money and to make a living that are outside of the box. And now we live in such there's so much expansion going on. There's so many choices and choices that you didn't exist before. The whole indie movie industry didn't exist 20 years ago. It barely exists now, but you can see these waves, right, of change and opportunity and possibility, and then it morphs into the next thing. So there are lots of choices about how you can make a living, right? Which is a very different thing from making money to pay the bills. And here's a little trick from the universe, or a little hint from the universe. If all you do is spend your time looking at how to make money to pay the bills, you are going to be bored out of your mind, and you're going to be creating all kinds of distractions, often trauma dramas, because it's too small. It's boring. Nobody's interested in how to pay the bills. However, if you're interested in changing the fashion world, changing what the choices are at Target and Macy's, and creating a whole different line of clothing, that is exciting. That you can get behind. Or if you have some other thing that you have a passion about, then that, when you're following the thing that is really exciting to you, the energy in your body changes. The chemistry in your body changes. The peptides, what they're doing, the chemicals in your synapses in your brain and in your joints changes. And when you're connected to something that you really care about, that you really love, that you really thrill over, then the universe hears that. And the universe will rearrange things in the physical world to bring you the support and the resources and the opportunities that it's going to take for you to bring this thing into fruition, into the world, into actualization. And the universe only can say yes. That's all. It's the only answer the universe can give you. So if you're not spending your time and your energy and your focus and your thoughts on the things that thrill you and that you're really enamored of, that you really want to play with and be with and see in the world, then you're likely spending your time thinking about the bills and how you don't have the money for it, and how you hate your job and how you don't want to get up to go to work and how you're always tired and how you wish there was a way out, but there is no way out. So you have to, right? You just kind of drone more and more and more, right? So then the universe can only say yes. So it gives you more of that. And that looks like, for instance, you start a savings account. And let's say you have kind of a magic number where if you had this dollar amount in your savings account, you would feel rich, or you would feel powerful, or you would feel like, you can do anything. And so what probably happens is you get to that number, or you get close to that number, and that's when the car breaks down and the repair bill is exactly that amount, or the refrigerator dies, or something else happens to wipe out that savings account, because the basic premise that you're operating from is that you can't. And all you can do is the crap that you don't like, and the stuff that you want to do, you can't do because you have to do the crap you don't like, right? This kind of infinity loop of, downward spiral. So because you have this downward spiral, and most of us have it because of an attempt, it's what we've learned, it's what we've been trained at. And there's some degree in our culture of saying something like, I can't remember now, but something like, don't count on anything because then you can't be disappointed. Well, if you don't count on anything because you don't want to be disappointed, then being disappointed has the power of life and death over you. And you won't try and do anything because you don't want to be disappointed. And, I found out years ago, this shocked me. Disappointment, it's just disappointing. It's not actually lethal. And so if you're arranging your life around making sure you're not disappointed, what you're doing is you're making your life smaller and smaller and smaller. And you're making your choices fewer and more binary, right? So it's not really choices, it's just fewer and fewer options. So the reason everybody talks about dreaming big is not to convince introverts to become extroverts. And it's not some perverted thing about, Jesus wants you to be rich. It's none of that. It has to do with you're, as a human being, you're much more than the world tells us we are anymore. So the world these days tells us that we are our jobs, or we are our income, or we are our, Facebook likes, our social media presence, or everything. It all boils down to some quantifiable thing. And it's a quantifiable thing that somebody else can quantify. So the Facebook likes is not only important because you can see them, but it's more important because your enemies can see it, or somebody else can see it. So right now the world has us shrinking about who we are and what's possible for us into smaller and smaller channels, partly because it's easier to control people who are in those channels. And also, if you don't know that you're amazing and that you have capacities beyond your imagining, then you agree that you're nothing except what you can contribute commercially. And most of us are too smart to ever say that out loud to ourselves, but there are ways that we get around making that evaluation, and then we end up operating from that in an unconscious way. And when we do that, we tend to feel lonesome and unworthy or not good enough, because as soon as we agree that our worth is only what can be reduced to a commercial exchange, we have lost ourselves. It's a kind of abandonment. It's aligning and agreeing with a judgment of us that is biased and a lie. And when we align and agree with something, at some point we're going to rebel and resist it. And then you're kind of oscillating between align and agree and rebel and resist, align and agree and rebel and resist. The only time there's any kind of quasi peace is in the middle when you're passing in the infinity loop. Now, the truth is that you're much more than you're socially allowed to know you are, and culturally allowed to know you are. In my terminology, you are an infinite being who has this amazing body as your soul's mate for this lifetime. I mean, how does it get any better than that? Yeah. And then the world will tell you that's not true. The world will tell you you're just a bag of bones, a bag of water, and when you die, the worms will eat you and, fade to black. Nowhere in the universe does fade to black actually exist. Not even in the movies. I mean, even in the movies where the concept, came into being in modern times, even in the movies, when it does fade to black, it's never for more than, 30 seconds at most? Because otherwise you just have the film rolling and nothing for people to look at. So, I mean, fade to black does hearken to something primordial, some really deep fear that the body has about not existing anymore. But you're an infinite being. You existed before your body. You're going to exist after your body. You can go traveling all over the world with your body at home, in your imagination and energetically. You have tons of capacities that are of no use to commerce. But just because they're no use to commerce doesn't mean they're no use to you, and that they're no use to humanity. So the stuff that's happening outside of the box is where real life is happening. And that's the glory and the excitement and the possibilities and the healing and the transformation and the innovation and the change. Many of the things that commerce likes to profit from come from outside of the box. And the way you get outside of the box is to start noticing when you're making those choices. Is this a binary choice? Is it just the option that's in front of me, or is this a real choice? And start to experiment with what choice looks like for you and what choices can you make differently. So we talked about some big grand things. let's talk about everyday life and choices in your everyday life. So let's say you have this job because, you have to work for a living, right? So you have this job and it's Sunday afternoon. Now, I used to live with a guy. I loved him. But by Sunday afternoon, 3 or 4 o'clock, he just got grouchier and grouchier. And I'm like, oh, well, let's go to a movie. Let's do this. No, I got to get ready for work tomorrow. Now, getting ready for work tomorrow really consisted of sitting in front of the TV and working up to hating his job. He just kept going over and over and over. So not only did he work 40 hours a week, he forfeited, half of his weekend practically to hating his job. And part of Saturday was spent in recovering from the week, So all of these are choices. You never believed that, but they are. So if you have a job, like when I had a job, which of course I hated, I'd wake up in the morning and I would, I'm a night owl, I'm not a morning person. And I would go to work and I would still, on a Monday, I would still part of me would still be in bed and I would be resentful that I wasn't in bed. I would be resentful that I had to get up. I'd be resentful that I had to go to work. Why can't I just stay at home? And so here I am, my body's at work and I'm stewing and a part of me is still at home in bed, right? All of those are choices. And in some weird way, I thought that by staying in bed and resenting my job, I was somehow defending myself or protecting myself or paying them back for me having to go work or something. I don't remember anymore. I know it kind of made sense to me at the time, but thank God it's a long time ago. So so here's some choices that you can start to practice and see how they make a difference for you. Here's one choice. Choose to be where you are. So if it's Sunday afternoon at 6 p.m. and you're at home with your family, be at home with your family enjoying this, you've had 24 hours of home time with your loved ones or 36 hours, whatever it is. Choose to be in the moment, like right here, right now. I'm in a place that I love being. I'm with my family. And if none of those things are true, find something that is true that you can be with in that moment. So, go for a walk, right? And be in the neighborhood or be on the street that you're on, be in your body. Notice the sensations in your body. Notice the wind. Notice the air on your face or the sun on your face. If you allow your body to be your native guide, your body can teach you how to be in the moment. And the more you can be in the moment and in your body, the more at ease you're going to feel. So, another choice that you can start practicing is choosing to be on your side. And how that looks, how that manifests, how would you actualize choosing that choice? I choose to be on my side. How you would actualize that at any given moment will depend on any given moment. So if you make the choice of being on your side a priority, then you will discover what that looks like, what that feels like, and how to do it. And the more you're choosing to be on your side, the more at peace you're going to be. And the more at peace you're going to be, the better choices you're going to make. Because you're not going to be, trying to scurry out of survival. You're going to be actually making choices. All right, so you are an infinite being and you have this amazing body and you have choices, which are yummier than options, all around you all day long. So experiment with, what do you want? What do you desire? What do you require? And start spending time on choosing to take the steps to have whatever that is, to manifest it, to actualize it. The funny thing is that as captivated as we get with paying the bills and going to work, we're not really very good at the whole living part. And the more you can be in your body and the more you can choose to be on your side, the more you're going to get into the living part. And when you're in the living part of things, it's sweeter and things come easier. And you can actually feel the affinity that your higher self and the universe have for you more. All right. Thanks for clicking on. And let me know what you think about what kind of choices can you make today. Thanks for joining in. Bye.